I like the fact that when I was there, we didn't have internships when I was going to school at the U of A. So when I went to work for Sunt, was my freshman year, I came down, I got a job as a laborer, and basically poured concrete for 4 years in Tucson. So we started at the Pima County Administration Building, about a 12-story building, went across the street to the underground parking garage, and then came to McHale Center and finished up at McHale Center. So all those jobs, I don't know, we probably poured 40,000 yards of concrete. So I got the chance to pour a lot of concrete, work with some really good men, some really smart people in the field. You have to always respect the people in the field. I learned that early, that these guys, a lot of them are very smart. Smart as everybody in this room right here, and they have some good ideas, but they celebrated working with their hands, and they were awfully good at it. They did lots of things that we do today on CAD and so forth. They would bring little drawings to work with them and hand it out to their crew, and here's what we want to do today. I thought working in the field for 4 years was as valuable, if not more valuable, than working in the office all that time. I got to deal with really good people. They had lots of good ideas. I certainly got an idea of productivity when it's 112 or 15 degrees, how much you're going to get out of a crew of men that day. I understood schedules. I understood how to put things together because you're just there every day. You just, not because I'm reading about it, but I'm there, and you get to look at a lot of different trades and how they work and what their productivity levels is and what they need to be productive. What's on that side. So I always thought that was a really good foundation for me anyway. It worked out really well. Some of the big companies today, Floor and Bechtel, some of you will know those names, big companies, they have everybody working for them. They have the architects, the engineers. Zachary does the same thing. They have it all in-house. That works for them. Now, these are mega companies. They're doing, 20 and 25 and $30 billion. Kiewit has a lot of that internally. We're seeing some movement. Henry C. Beck, Peter Beck put architecture into his construction company about 10 years ago. Today, he has about 100 architects on staff. And we're seeing that in alternate project deliveries. You go to CM at Risk and you go to design build, you see more and more people. It's a teaming thing, so they like having that inside. Now, what's the downside to that? Well, I've got everybody on my team. I've got them all captive. Yeah, but you also have a huge general administrative cost. It's called G&A. Your overhead is really high, and if you don't have work for all those people, it's going to go through the roof in a hurry. So it really depends on, can I keep all those people productive? Can I keep them all busy? And can I make enough money to support that overhead? That's different. There's always going to be niche businesses, subcontractors and contractors and architects and engineers that do certain things. But the middle is a precarious place to be today. And I considered Sunt to be in the middle. I think Mike Hoover replaced me. Mike would tell you the same thing today. We're kind of in the middle. It sounds like a big company because we're doing $1.25 billion. Mike said maybe $1.5 billion or $1.6 billion this year. But you're in the middle a little bit. You're not a niche contractor anymore, and you're also not Kiewit and some of the bigger guys. So you're getting squeezed a little bit on that. So you try and really put together good teams to overcome that. So do you work with as many people as you used to work with? Probably not. We probably don't work with as many architects. We don't work with as many engineers. We don't work with as many subcontractors as we did years ago because we're picking the most qualified team that we think we can put together for a project on that side. So it impacts us a little bit that way. So it's not a yes or no answer, but you're going to see some companies take everything, and you see AECOM in the engineering world today. They've bought a company about every month for the last 3 or 4 years. They probably have 110,000 employees today.
Wow.
On that side. So they've gone to the acquisition side, and they're buying, and they're in Jacobs. Jacobs is buying on the engineering side, and some of the construction companies are doing that. So it's a dynamic marketplace. There's no completely right and no completely wrong, but there's movement in there. I was fairly ambitious. I think I was determined. I like to lead. I don't want to follow. I'd rather lead. If you want to solve that problem, then I'll go solve another problem. I don't want to work on the same problem as you. I don't want to be in the same room. I'll go do another one.
Interesting.
That doesn't excite me. If I'm not going to make the decision, I'll move on to something else. I mean, that doesn't.
I mean, you had to grow to that attitude,
yeah, you
right?
have to.
That wasn't the attitude when you started.
No, you have to kind of grow to it. But you make decisions at different levels. So I was the engineer, and there was a question I think you gave me that said, how do you get there? Well, one, you have to be prepared to accept new challenges. You have to be prepared to relocate. I mean, I had 14 addresses, I think, my first 10 years at the company. I liked that. Did I like moving all that time? No, I wouldn't say that was the best thing in the world. But you have to consider that an opportunity, not a threat. And in that opportunity, I got to live in a couple places. At that time, we were doing a lot of high-rise work in Denver and Dallas, and we did a power job up in St. John's, Arizona, to give you contrast. There's 700 people in St. John's a day, and there have been 700 people there for the last 100 years. And we had a big power plant there. But when you do that, you're the only person they can talk to in town because there's no office. So if somebody wants to have a conversation about it, they've got to come see you. So I like that part of it. Now, is all your decisions correct? I wouldn't say that, but you learn pretty quickly because there's no line behind you. You turn around, there's nobody behind you, so they ask you, and you're going to give them your best answer. I had lots of discussions with union representatives about we need more people and we need this, and no, we'll be fine, and all those kinds of things. But I like that. That part I liked. I do like making that decision. I liked preparing for an opportunity. I liked accepting that challenge. I didn't have an expectation of every decision being right. Willingness to move, to relocate, to accept opportunities, to lead. Empathy. Are you interested in other people? Can you relate to a team environment? Because we're all going to work in team environments. You're not going to be the boss of it. And any project we work on is going to have contractors, subcontractors, architects, engineers, owners, city people, government people, whoever's there. So it's going to be a team environment. Can you relate to a team environment? Can you look at that? In our case, and with the changes in the industry today, when we talk about CM at risk and design build, that procurement process relates to the qualifications of the individuals and the team and the companies you're presenting. And some of that gets to be presentation skills. I tell this to lots of young people like all of you. If you don't take any other class in college, take public speaking. Be comfortable in public speaking. Do you like to speak to a group? Can you develop credibility with that group? When you talk, are they listening to you? Regardless whether you're the engineer on the project or you're the senior person on the project, do you relate to it? It's a chemistry test when you go in for an interview with a board or with a group of people. It is a chemistry test. They probably shortlisted you because of your technical expertise and those other things. When you come in for the interview, now they're going to talk about chemistry. And do I think you're the best fit for me? Can I relate to you? Do I think you're going to solve my problems? Is my life going to be easier if I pick you and your team, or is it going to be harder? Are you making my life easier? Am I going home at 5 o'clock every night, or am I here because I don't trust you guys? So I'm giving you lots of attributes: trustworthiness, determination, ambition, loyalty. Do I expect all of you to work at the same place for 50 years? No. If you're interested in working at 15 or 16 places, then I'm not very interested in talking to you, because I don't want to invest a lot of money in training you, and 3 years later you're gone somewhere else. Because we're going to put a lot of money into training people. You're just starting education right now. So when you continue to train, I want to know we're getting a return on that investment. So I want to know, sometimes there's opportunities that come up and you can't compete with that opportunity and someone's going to leave. I get that. I understand it. But someone says, they offered me $100 a week more. That's not a good reason to leave. You got to look at the entire compensation package. You got to look at opportunities for the future. You've got to understand what retirement looks like. All those things are important from a career perspective. And is the company helping prepare me for those opportunities? That's half on the company and it's half on the individual. What are you doing to prepare yourself for that opportunity? What are you doing to be a better employee? Can you solve more problems a day than you could solve last year? Are you taking on more responsibility? Are you becoming a more senior person every year?
That's it. Every day you have to ask, how did I add value to the company today?
Every day.
Every single day. You scared half the room when you said it's about chemistry. And they actually thought it was about chemistry,
Yeah,
not relationships. But well, let's stay on that line in good employees. What do you think about graduate school and advanced degrees?
I wish I had one, but I do not. I think it may vary depending upon your interest. So if you're in the design side and like the design side, then I'd say maybe you want a master's or a doctorate in engineering. That may be most beneficial to you in that area. If you're going to be in the construction side and you're going to run a contracting firm, or you're going to run a subcontracting firm or a supplier or something, I'd probably go to the MBA. I'd go the business route more than I would the engineering route on that one. I think originally the engineering side is going to work really well. Bill Badger, that you knew up at ASU, Colonel Badger, was really good about this. He said the first 10 years you're going to use engineering, the second 10 years is going to be about business, and the third 10 years is going to be about people. I think he was pretty correct on that. I think that is true.
What's the fourth 10 years?
More on people. Because you'll never figure out the whole people side. You're trying to get that square peg in a square hole.
I'm in that fourth 10 years. That's why I'm wondering.
Yeah. I had plenty of those things. But I think it's true that you need the technical skills early in your career. It's going to help you solve lots of problems. It engages you. It offers opportunities. And if you're good at that, then you get to the business side. So I gave you an example on business just a minute ago, but there's also lots of risk in contracts, types of contracts that you're signing. So you really understand the contract you're signing, and that you're offering subcontractors and architects and engineers. Have you fairly applied the risk to everybody? Can they control the risk you're giving them, or are you just offloading risk? And they can't control it, so they're going to fight back. And if they're going to fight back, they're probably going to add a lot of money to it at that point in time because they can't control it. We have a hard time with some attorneys on that they don't understand fair distribution of risk. So the business helps out, and then people. In our business, and in probably lots of businesses, it is still about people. It's always about people. And can you get the right people in the right seat? Some people can fill several seats, and they do a really good job. That's a little rare. Most people are really good at something here, and can you align them where they're best? Not so much in their early formative years where you're trying to expose them to lots of different things. I mean, later on, where are they best? And there's a big difference. In our business, I think project managers get paid to manage business. I think superintendents get paid to manage building. And I've used that graph a million times internally. Those are different skill sets. The best superintendent may be your worst project manager and vice versa. And the jobs will not be good. And you can put one of those people on a big job. Amy's working at the hospital over here. Those are different skill sets. And if you don't have a really good business manager and a really good builder, you're not going to like it. You're going to find the weakest link pretty quickly. We're going to either be behind schedule, we're not going to like our productivity, we're not going to like our quality, or we're not going to like the control we have over the environment. And the environment being contract terms and conditions, delays, changes, lots of things that come up that impact the business side. Are you getting paid on time? You don't get paid on time, there's lots of problems in the construction business. And we had that real estate recessions in Arizona about every 10 years. So in 81 or 82, I'd just become a manager of a division, 82, I think. And we get into this real estate recession. And I didn't adjust on people fast enough. I thought, well, we'll pick up a job, we'll do this, I'll be okay. Pretty soon I had too much overhead, weren't making enough money. We ended up making money that year, but I thought, I'm not going to let this happen again. So when we had the last recession in 2007 or 8, when that hit, I told all of our division guys, I said, rank all your people because we're going to lay off 100 people. We're going to take 100 people out. We're going to do it in 3 weeks. I said, this is going to be a deep recession. I don't know what it's going to look like, but we're not carrying payroll. We're not going into this thing with hope as a strategy. If we need to hire people back, we'll hire people back, but we're not going to run into the red. I said, I've been to that movie. I know the ending. I didn't like it last time. I'm not doing it again this time. So we did that, and I met with 3 or 4 other companies that there's a lot of benchmarking, it's called, in the construction industry where people get together. So we benchmarked with a couple of people out of the Midwest, contractors you'd know their names, and they had not done that. And when they came out, we spent 8, 9, 10 hours together. We exchanged financials. We do all things. These are pretty open conversations. And he said, well, we had 3 or 4 jobs that were supposed to go. We thought we were going to get called. We negotiated them, and they never called. And I said, I think you got to lay people off. I said, and I said, I don't say that easily, but you've also got to think about the people that are left. You can't just run in the red because this guy, they were already down $4 million. They were in the red already. When I talked to him, I said, you're going to be deeper. This hole, you got to stop digging when you're in a hole. You guys haven't stopped digging. I don't know where the bottom's going to be, but you're not going to like this. I mean, after a while, you're getting into real money here. We had a lot of interns, and we were trying to spend time with those interns on various jobs. Then we had a meeting with them. We wanted to get feedback from the interns. We were trying to get feedback, positive or negative, we're trying to get feedback. But we tried to adapt the interns to what we thought could be best for them. And we had training classes, and several companies are doing this today, I think. So we tried to take people the first 3 years they were with the company, we tried to put them into a training class. They would meet 3 times maybe for 2 or 3 days at a time. And we try and introduce them to the construction industry and a little bit about Sun, and put them into a training program, and then give them a project. So if there's 16 we tried to have 16 to 20 people in a training class. We figured that's about the optimum size. Beyond that, you get too many. Then you tried to break them into groups of 4 or 5 for this project. You'd give them something, and they had to go almost like a term paper. Go research this and come back and present it. And so it's part of their learning curve is being involved in that. Then we had another class, a leadership class, it was like when you're 10 years out of school. So now you're in your early 30s. We tried to put everybody into that class. We'd have outside speakers and other people come in. It'd be about 3 days long, 4 times a year, I think. 3 times a year, 4 times a year, I forgot now. It went on for about 2 years on that class. We tried to introduce people again to lots of things in the industry and try and broaden them out. So we tried to introduce more business into the second part of that one. So we'd talk about contracts more, and we'd talk about insurance, and we'd talk about lots of things in that second class, because by that time, a lot of those people are project managers. So they're the face of the company with an owner. So can they have this conversation with an owner and feel good, feel confident about what they're talking about? Because that, when you're in our business, the face of the company becomes the project managers and the superintendents and the senior estimators, not so much the division manager and the president and the CEO. You are to some extent, but if you've got 150 projects under construction, you're not the face of the company. The people building that project become the face of the company. So you're trying to train them and continue. There's always, and we offer a number of other classes. So you're always trying to provide additional education opportunities on a variety of topics. Some on the question, what's an ESOP, how's it operate, how's your insurance benefits, but some of that just scheduling, some of it's estimating, what are we doing differently? We've got new estimating software. You have to be a little cautious on how much software you're buying, particularly when you get to be a bigger company, because, there's a great new piece of software out, it only costs $4,000, we can use it. Yeah, but can you train 300 people on it? Can you get 150 jobs on it? If it's not going to save a lot of money and be worth a lot of effort, it's not worth the training probably on it. So you're looking at this, what's my return on investment for this particular thing we have? So it does come down to training, and some of that's on-the-job training too. I mean, there's a lot of on-the-job training, but there's also classes. So you're trying to introduce people into your culture a little bit, and you're trying to adapt to them. So there's movement both ways. I think this is not the U of A. We deal with some other schools, though, where some of the young people coming out think they're going to be the president of the company in 2 years. Not going to happen. I can pretty well assure you
Patrick was the president of his company in 2 years.
Then it's your company, Patrick.
You're right,
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
No. So you really want, and there's a subcontractor has different expectations than a Kiewit's going to have, and other ones. So I mean, you are trying to address that, because you want young people to grow in their careers. You want to give them challenges. You want to give them opportunities, and some are going to accept bigger decisions. They're going to accept more opportunities, and some are going to be really comfortable being a superintendent, being a project manager, being an estimator, being an accountant. And if you don't have that core of people, you're not going to have a good company. I mean, you're not going to have a 97 presidents. So it's it's not going. You got to have a nucleus in there. There's a 9-box thing. Some of you may have heard about that 9-box. It gauges where people are headed, what's their capability, and you end up with a lot of them right in the middle because they're really good. That's what they like. They go home, they celebrate that success. They don't develop ulcers. They're good with their family, and they do a really good job at that. You get somebody in the wrong seat on the bus pick the level. I don't care where it is. They become unhappy. Pretty soon their spouse is unhappy. The kids are unhappy. They come home. They're not happy at work. They're not productive. You got to figure out, what did we do wrong here? Are we asking somebody to be something they can't be? So we move them over here because they're really good at this, and they're going to celebrate that, and they're going to be happy. And it's a win-win. You're looking for win-wins, not win and losers. You're trying to get a win-win out of every employee where they like coming to work, they enjoy it, they develop friendships, and they're happy at home at night, and they feel good about their career, and they feel good about their family.
I think that's one of the great things about SUNT, that you should be really proud of being able to do that matching. And the term we use here is strengths-based leadership, but it's exactly the same idea.
Maybe robotics. I don't know.
Is that going to change the labor strategy that you talked about?
Yeah, I think it is going to. We're doing things today. All of you know more about this than I do, but, we're into lots of models or lots of CAD. There's 3D printing. I mean, I was talking a couple years ago. I really wanted to understand why we couldn't 3D print retaining walls for freeways. I still don't know why we can't do that, but they're working on it.
Maybe we can.
Why can't we do some of that? So that's going to change, and the robotics is going to change. We're doing a lot of, because of modeling techniques, you can prefab lots of things today. Probably all of you have seen some of that. You can do much more prefab today than we would have done years ago. Part of that's a reaction to the lack of skills in the workforce today. We don't have the skills we had. I don't care what people say. Carpenters were better 20 years ago than they are today. That's just the facts of life.
They say that about students, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
And professors were better 20 years ago than they are today. Yeah.
But they,
Thanks, Bruce.
robotics maybe. I think robotics are going to lay block. They're going to lay brick. They're going to finish concrete. They're going to build stud walls. They can do lots of things that I don't know if we've touched the tip of the iceberg on what actual robotics will do in the field yet.
Interesting.
The field's changed quite a bit the last 10 years. It's going to continue to change. The shortage in craft labor is certainly encouraging that. You're seeing more prefab opportunities. You're seeing more modeling. You do lots of things today that we didn't see years ago. So it's I don't know the answer to that one, but I'd kind of bet on robotics, I think.